Hello, hello, and welcome back to the Living in Alignment podcast. I'm here with Jocelyn Sandstrom today, and I'm really excited about this interview. Jocelyn grew up in Hawaii and has lived and worked in 12 different countries. Right, we're in the first line of the bio, and it's already really impressive. This experience and this bio is so good. Like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited about this interview. This experience has allowed her to realize that even though we may speak different languages or have different traditions, at our core, we're all the same. She has used this knowledge to help and support clients around the world in creating next level success, not just in their careers, but in their personal lives as well. Since 2010, she has been providing quantum energy sessions and teaching neurolinguistic programming, neurological repatterning, and the Millennium Method to clients globally. In 2022, she founded Wellness and Metaphysical, a community-driven platform that promotes a higher level of consciousness through expos and retreats. Jocelyn's mindset and energy work have propelled her career, allowing her to work with leading global luxury brands like Louis Vuitton, Gucci, Fendi, Cartier. I don't even know how to say that. Cartier,
Yeah.
Tiffany and Company, Christian Louboutin, and Yves Saint Laurent, among others. She has been featured on the covers of Elle, Marie Claire, Esquire, Harper's Bazaar, and more. Alongside her husband, she has hosted 2 travel shows and appeared in various feature and short films. Now she is focused on sharing her knowledge and experience through coaching and mentoring to help others turn their dreams into reality. Jocelyn is a certified teacher and practitioner of advanced neurolinguistic programming, neurological repatterning, Ericksonian hypnosis, and a Millennium Method. She is also a certified Yuen Method. Did I say that right?
Yeah. Yin method.
Yuen Method and Reiki practitioner. Jocelyn specializes in helping clients release deep-rooted issues from their past that are holding them back. She supports clients in building not just success, but also fulfillment at the same time, because success without fulfillment is empty, leading to burnout and anxiety. She supports her clients to discover their authentic truth and share that with the world, magnetizing their energy to start attracting people and opportunities out of the blue, enabling them to fall in love with themselves and their life while creating more success than ever before. Wow. You're
Yay.
you're speaking my language, Jocelyn. I love
Thank
this so
you.
much. So
Thank
welcome
you.
to the Living in Alignment podcast. It's so good to have you here. How are you today?
I'm awesome. It's such an honor to be here. I love your podcast and I'm excited to dive deep.
Yay. Cool. Well, so before we roll into all the juice, is there anything, you want to share about yourself or your backstory or what has you, what your work in the world?
Well, I mean, for me, everything that's come out has been through my experience. I don't know if you know human design, but I'm a line 3. And so I go through the fires and then I rebirth and then I bring that to the world. And so that I can bring that so you don't have to go through it as well too, right? So I share through my stories. My favorite thing about my previous career was being able to live in different countries, to be able to realize that our home is the entire planet. It's not just where we are. And there's so much growth from that, like being able to see that we are at the root all the same. So it's all the same stuff. It doesn't matter what industry you're in, if you're working on your business, relationships, your health at the core, it's those beliefs. It's the programming that we chose to take on from the environment that we grew up in. And just as easily as we chose to take it on, we can choose to take it off and we can shift it into something that's going to just shift your life overnight. And I just absolutely love that.
I love that. I love that you just said that as easily as we take it on, we can take it off. Because I feel like a lot of people get stuck thinking like, we wear these identity badges based on things that have happened to us in our lives, and we create these stories about ourselves that we feel like we have to like continue to live into for the rest of our lives.
Yes.
And
And we can do that. We can
mhm,
keep proving it over and over again and validating it over and over again if that story serves us.
right.
But if it doesn't, we can put that story down and we can change that story because all of it's a story, anyways. The story that you've been telling yourself is just the perception that you created of that story. Someone else that would have gone through the same situation might have created a completely different story. So none of it
Mhm,
is real, anyways. It's just the
mhm.
story that our mind created based on where we grew up and the beliefs and, the conditioning that we had in our imprint period and beyond. So now, once we are aware of that, we can change, we can write the story. Like, I truly believe, the Truman Show,
Yeah.
how like they were trying to control him. I see the universe as the Truman Show, but the universe here supporting me to live my best, most incredible movie. And so if I write a story and I choose a belief, I get to put it out there, and then the universe is like, "Oh, great. She wants that. Let's throw in this actor. Let's throw in this opportunity," and it supports me on my journey based on the stories because we are manifesting all day every day unconsciously by our thoughts. And so we could either be manifesting an abundance of lack because that's the story we keep telling ourselves that we don't have enough and this keeps happening to us, or we could change the story and create an abundance of wealth or whatever that story is, and then the universe will start bringing that to you. Because to me, quantum manifestation isn't just manifesting those one things and that one house or that one car or the money. It's manifesting a way of being. It's about being in alignment, living your best life, trusting that the universe has your back and that you go first and they support.
I love that. So what do you think is the thing that keeps people from understanding that the universe has their back and that they can be in alignment? Like, why do you think that human beings feel the need to swim upstream?
I feel like it's just the conditioning that we took on from childhood. It's just, I mean, it's been programmed from birth because ancestors just keep repeating it. Unless you've had a parent that doesn't believe that and believes something else, then that's just their natural belief. So
Mhm.
because we grew up, I didn't have a parent that believed that. So I grew up in that programming. And now I get to say that wasn't mine and that was my ancestors' program, and it was great and it was awesome. It got me to exactly to where I am right now. Now I want to experience something different. Now I want to try something else out. So now, as long as I have an awareness that that was a belief creating my reality, I can then say that's not mine and I can choose this reality. But because we live in that society and the programming and everything, it takes a lot for you to claim that for yourself and
Yeah.
override it. And that's why I have that soul evolution process that I was mentioning to you, because the more that you drop down into heart space and you tune into your truth, not everybody else's truth, not family, society, not school system, nothing, to your truth, your true, authentic truth, you get to override all those beliefs because now you're tuning into what lights you up, not what success looks like to everybody else. So I used to live in the world of what success looks like to everybody else. And I was pushing and I was hustling and I burnt out. And I realized that there's another way. I went on a journey of self discovery, which is what I help my clients to do. And I discovered what success looks like to me. And then I cultivated that every single day. I cultivated that knowing within me to override the other beliefs and the other, I guess, conditioning and programming. And also, I use the reprogramming process on myself so that I can go back and remove it from the root and dig it up and then move forward with my life and program in a new powerful belief that's going to take me forward and create my dreams to reality.
That's so cool. So what reprogramming process is it called the reprogramming process or is it?
It's an actual NLP
Oh, okay.
process where we go back to the very first moment that it was an issue for you, whether it's in this life, your mother's womb, past lives. And we go back and we discover what that first situation was, and then
Mhm.
we just reprogram it from there. It's kind of like if you have a yard and you have weeds in your yard and you keep wanting to get rid of it, so you keep mowing it and mowing it and mowing it, that's awesome. You will get rid of it, but you have to keep doing it every single week because the weeds keep growing up versus going back and going down to the root of the weed and pulling it out so it doesn't keep growing back. That's
Right.
kind of how I describe the reprogramming process. So you can do the reprogramming process, but you can also do it on your own by just had the awareness that these are not your beliefs, that
Yeah.
you took on these beliefs at a core. We are all connected to source and all the information in the universe. I truly believe all our souls are same power, but different. I truly believe our souls just took on different journeys and different movies, but we all have access to the infinite knowledge and infinite potentiality. It's just that the beliefs close. It's like there's this like flow coming from the universe, and then the beliefs we took on are kind of like putting little roadblocks. So it's flowing to us, but it has to flow through all of these beliefs. So the minute that you're aware of that, then you can just go on a journey of self-discovery to say, okay, well, what are those beliefs that I've been trying so hard to prove over and over and over again? And I'm doing an awesome job. I'm proving them. It keeps showing up in my life over and over and over again. Do I want to keep this result or do I want a different one? And if I do, I have to stop proving this point and I get to choose a different belief that I get to prove. So it's that belief that then you just drop down into your body, into the knowing, and then you compound it with evidence of like everything that you look for in the world. Because we get bombarded by like 7 billion bits of information every single second, and we can only take 7 plus or minus every single second based on our filter. So all we need to do is change our filter. And once we change our filter and then we cultivate that every single day, we change our reality almost instantly.
I love this. So where does comparisonitis fall in? I know you're saying that like a lot of our beliefs come from our ancestors and the way that we're raised, which totally makes sense. But I know that a lot of people in my space, in the entrepreneur space in particular, is what I'm referring to. Well, in humans in life in general also, but I see a lot of people who I feel people sabotage their success by trying to be like other people who are successful or who have the type of lifestyle that they want, or they think that they have to use the same marketing strategy as them, or they have to make their website look like somebody else's, or they have to, make their message be like somebody else, or they have to dress like somebody or talk like somebody like, and as like it's one of my big things that I'm constantly talking about is authenticity, is being yourself. Like when you really allow yourself to be who you truly are, that's where the success comes from. It doesn't come from trying to be a cookie cutter version of somebody else. But I'm just curious what you have to say about like the filter that you were just talking about and the beliefs that come from our ancestors. Where does the comparison piece um play how does that play into what you're talking about here with, like the reprogramming? Is there reprogramming that needs to happen based on how we compare ourselves to others?
I think
Or
absolutely. I think comparison was a very good motivator. My mom used comparison all the time and it motivated me to do things, but it never left me feeling empowered, right? So
Mhm.
I think, and school uses comparison all the time. And then there's grades grading you on a specific thing, but not everybody's good at that specific thing. So
Right,
if that's not your thing, then there's something wrong with you. And
right.
so you just try and fit into this box as much as possible
Yeah,
because you think if you fit into this box, you're going to be successful. But evolution is not fitting into this box. Anybody that's ever evolved and innovated and created something incredible did something outside of the box.
yep,
And they had a knowing that drove them beyond people's opinions, that drove them beyond what it looks like. They had that knowing inside, even though it looked like it wasn't working. They knew it and they kept going and going and going. So you look at the Wright brothers, you look at uh Disney, who got rejected 33 times before the 34th time he got a loan for the bank. All these people did things outside of the box. And so, yes, you can be successful being a cookie cutter fitting inside of the box. And I've tried that. And yes, you do get successful, but do you get the fulfillment? Do you light your soul on fire? Is it burnout? Is it proving? Is it pleasing, achieving? Is it never enough? Because it's not yours. And so once I discovered that, I realized that I'm here to innovate. I believe every single one of us is here to evolve the world. Each generation is amazing, and each generation after that gets to take the good and then evolve to the next level and to the next level and to the next level. And so each level is going to look different. If you just try and be cookie cutter, you will be successful, but will you create infinite potentiality? Will you be the one that changes the way people do business? So in order to do that, you have to cultivate that inner power. When you can cultivate your inner power, and override people's opinions, when you can realize that as children, we needed outside validation because we didn't know what we were doing. But once we pass that threshold into adulthood, then we become our own self-validating. We get to use the soul evolution process and we get to discover what that is for us. And then we get to cultivate that inner power so much that we get to override and do the things that are crazy and do it our way. Even though people around us say, you're crazy, don't do that. You need to do this in order to be successful. You have to have a website. You have to have all these things, right? But you don't have to. Like, you get to create it your way if you know what that is and you get to override that. And then you have to cultivate that knowing within you so much that you become your guidance system, because otherwise you're always going to check and ask people, am I on the right track? Am I doing the right thing? You're always going to be a child in
Mm,
an adult body asking for permission and
right.
saying, am I doing it right? But once we claim that we are, and there's nothing that we can do wrong because this is our creation, this is our experience, this is our journey. And if we have a vision, I truly believe in quantum physics, past, present, futures, in the now. I believe that vision is an echo from your future self showing you what's coming if you follow the breadcrumbs every single day and never give up. And so if you just follow the breadcrumbs and you're not afraid of it working or not working and making a mistake because you know that you're going to tweak it, you're going to pivot, you're going to transmute it, and eventually you're going to get there because you're just putting one foot in front of the other and you're never going to stop no matter what, then you don't have to be afraid of that. You get to take these leaps and you get to take these challenges and you get to create something that never existed before. You can use other people as inspiration, but if you try and just copy exactly, it's going to fall flat because that strategy worked for that person because it lit that person up. And that strategy, that person was inspired by all of these different things and made it their own. And so you get to have inspiration in the world by all these things. And then you get to ask your soul, okay, well, how do I get to evolve this? How do I get to make it my own? Because I'm not here for everybody, I'm here for my people. And how do I get as clear about what that is and support my people the best possible way that I can? And I let them do their thing, but I do my thing.
Yeah. I love this so much. So this leads me to, so I'm on a lot of different masterminds where we talk about marketing strategies and things like that. That's one of my passions is teaching marketing and things. And so one of the things that there's kind of like two different schools of thought about are, one is people plan things out ahead of time, like they're going to plan out like their whole content calendar for the year or month or whatever it is. And then there are people like me who like to act from inspiration. I like to create about, like, I get inspired every day about things I want to talk about or say. So when you're talking about like following the breadcrumbs, is do we need to just stay in that inspired place and just follow our heart on a daily basis? Or can we project out a year and be like, okay, I've got all my content planned for the whole year and I'm good? Like, like how does that work when we're following breadcrumbs? Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
if
I
we
know
have to be
exactly what you
available
mean.
to be able to pivot when we get the call to do that or whatever, how do people do that? Are they able to do that? Are they even able to know that it's time to do that if they've planned a year out ahead or whatever?
I
And I'm
think
not saying one way is right or better than the other. I just know that some people like to like do it one way and others like to do it another way. So I'm just curious what your thoughts are about all that.
Well, I think it's dependent on the person. So each person has a different way of doing things. Some people wait till the last minute, some people need to plan. And I don't know if you know your human design, but human design will also help give you an insight on what your strategies are as well. So for me, I like to project out. It's like, so we get to be the bamboo. We get to be strong. We get to have these ideas. But then when the wind blows, we get to move with it. We get to be
Mhm.
versatile. We get to be
Mhm.
flexible because we have the resilience and the inner power and nothing's fixed. We get to project it out and we get to plan it out. And then we also get to move and say, okay, well, that's what I projected. And there's nothing wrong that it's going this way. Actually, I'm just going to keep following the breadcrumbs wherever the breadcrumbs take me. But I get to have an overall plan, and that's totally fine. Some people like to have it structured and like to have all their posts scheduled out. Other people like to act through their inspiration. So only you will know what works best for you. And try, and that's for me. So I tried to do like a 365-day reel challenge because they say the algorithm that you put yourself out there every day, it's going to do that. For me, it crashed my social media. To one point, I almost had like 0 likes on my posts because I was just putting stuff out every single day to put it out. When I stopped doing that and I posted when I was called to post,
Mhm.
my interactions went up. Now that strategy works for me. But that 365-day reel challenge worked for somebody else. So you'll
Right.
never know until you try it and you play with different strategies and you see, okay, what works with me and what doesn't work with me. And then also, it's not what it looks like. It's not like, to me, everything is energetics. It's behind it. You could have two people saying the same exact thing, but one person's energy like is fully all in. They embody it, they claim it, they say it, and it's there. The other person's saying the exact same thing, but it doesn't hit the same way. One, because they might just be regurgitating it and they haven't embodied it. Two, they might not have the confidence to speak the way that they want to, and so people can feel that as well. They don't know why it doesn't hit as hard. There's just something that doesn't hit as hard. So when you just embody it, you don't even have to try. It just becomes who you are. So my thing is always about embodying it. Who do I desire to be? What are the characteristics? What are the beliefs? And how do I embody that every single day so that I'm just that? So I don't have to try and tell you something. I don't have to try and prove myself to you. I just am. And that it's so much easier and more fun and fulfilling that way. Yes, you do have to override your mind, but once you're aware of it and you're in that process, that just becomes a new habit. And then it just becomes your new reality. So I think just play around with all of them, and there is no right or wrong. It's what works for you, and you'll never know until you try it and pivot and try it and pivot.
Right. So how does somebody do that? How does somebody um like you were talking about cultivating your inner power. Like how do you cultivate your inner power, or how do you embody? How do you know what to embody?
Well, first you discover who inspires you, right? So I look at all the people in my life that inspire me and people that, whether they are still alive or not. I look for characteristics in what inspires me about them. I love professional athletes. To me, the focus that they have is amazing. To be able to play on a field in a stadium of thousands of people when half of them are cheering for them and half of them are saying horrible things to them, but yet they can stay in the zone and play their game. So I channel that focus for my business so that I can keep true to what I'm doing, and so that the influences don't take me off course. So
Mhm.
I channel that. And then anything else that I am inspired by, I write all of those things down so that I could embody it. I think about somebody in my industry that their career inspires me. And so I'll say, okay, well, how would they approach it? So for instance, if you are becoming an author, and if you are writing your first book and you're insecure, you're doubtful, you're like, I want to write this book, but should I? Am I an artist? Do I have something important? I'm an author. Do I have something important enough to say? But I'm not an expert. And you keep going back and forth in the wobble versus somebody that's already had a New York Times bestseller and this is like their 50th book. How would they write that book? How would they show up every single day writing that book? Would they doubt it every single day? Or would they show up because they're a writer and write every single day or whatever their process is? Would they have confidence knowing that they were born to bring this book into this world and that people are waiting for their next book? And it helped so many people because they received all of the letters saying how much that book inspired me. So how do you then be that person now? claim it every single day right now, knowing that you are writing books that are going to change the world. You write as if you're that person. You bring that energy into what you're writing, and you're going to write completely different. If you know that that's inevitable and you claim that that's coming for you because it's a vision and it's what inspires you and you're never going to stop until you get there, then you're going to rush to the computer every single day and you're going to want to write because you know it's coming. But it's that wobble where like you're writing and then you doubt it, and or what are people going to judge this and all of those things. That wobble slows us down. If we ground into, I know this is coming, how would that person do it? That person would show up, they'd write, they'd post, they'd do all these things, and they'd post it in the energy that they know people are waiting to see it because it's going to help them, versus posting it saying, I hope they like this. Do you think they're going to like it? And when you can cultivate that knowing, and then you cultivate every single day your inner power, knowing that all of our souls are same power but different. Even my son, when I'm afraid for my son, I had a breakthrough where I didn't have to be, because his soul is just as powerful as mine. He's just on a different journey. He's a child and he has a long ways to go, but his soul has all the resources and all the skills and the tools that I have, and I trust in his journey, so I don't have to be afraid for him. So if I'm not afraid for him, why would I be afraid for me? Why would I not just play? And right now, this is my desire to build this business, so play with it. Know and ground in the knowing that I get to be that person. I'm that person in a making. So how would that person show up? Then I look for all the examples in my life of when I've been powerful, of everything I've accomplished, and I compound that into myself. I get to build my own chair by compounding all my successes into myself. And then I get to pull up that chair to the table. And then I get to, instead of waiting for someone to pull up that chair for me, then I get to lean back into that chair. And then I get to pull up a chair for everybody around me. And so when I cultivate that power, every single day we're telling ourselves a story about something. Most of the time, we're telling ourselves of how much we screwed up and how we didn't do this right and we didn't do that right. All you're doing is tweaking the story you're telling yourself every day. And instead of looking for all the things that you made a mistake on, or that you're not good enough at, or all these things, you're compounding the things that you're incredible at. And then when you do that, when you realize that this life that you're living right now, you manifested. You dreamt about this house that you're living in. You dreamt about the partner that you're with. And then you get it and you normalize it, and then it becomes lack because you want the next thing, instead of every single day when you look at that person, remembering how special they are and how much you dreamt about that person. When I'm having a bad day, all I need to do is look at my son. And I think about how much I had one miscarriage before him and four miscarriages after him. What a
Oh, wow.
miracle he is in this
Yeah.
life. And so, how can I be upset in this life? How can I think that I don't have magic in my life when he's here every single day? This house I used to drive by, imagining if we were in here seeing my son play in the yard, and now we're in it. And when I
Mm.
first moved in, I was like, okay, now I want a bigger house, like all these things we do. But I was like, but I dreamt about this house. So now that I realized that, I realized I manifested this, so I get to appreciate it. My son and my husband and I were like, oh, we're so lucky. This house is so beautiful. And we get to create more. But we get to create from that energy, from we are abundant and we're creating more, versus I manifested this and now I'm bored with it. So I want something else. So I'm not good enough and I have lack all the time and I never get what I want. And all those stories we tell
Mm-hmm.
ourselves. It's just that
Yeah.
one little flip. Like if I took your phone away, if you had your phone and you wanted the next iPhone that was coming out and you lost it somewhere, but when you get it back, you're like, oh my gosh, thank God. And you're so grateful. How do we live in that every single day, in that frequency, in that vibration, also about ourselves? How do we then use that to become magnetic? When I work with my clients, it's about how do we become magnetic? So instead of chasing the butterflies, we build a garden so that the butterflies come to you.
Yeah.
When that powerful person walks into the room, you don't even know who that person is. For whatever reason, you look and you're attracted to that person and that energy. You don't know what they do. You don't know who they are. They don't even, it's not even about the looks. It's about the energy and the presence that that person walks into the room with. How do you cultivate that and let that be your calling card? And the more that you do that every single day, through the reprogramming, through the belief shifts, through the compounding the good evidence instead of the lack evidence, you override it. And then before you know it, you're like completely in love with your life, and you're creating more because you get to, because it's an evolution that continues your whole entire life. Like, we would be so bored if life was perfect right now. I mean, Groundhog Day, he just wanted to get out of Groundhog Day because it was like everything's
Mhm.
perfect, but now what? But if we
Yeah.
just accept that this is the journey of it, and I get to experience, I get to enjoy the magic of it, I get to be so grateful, and I get to create more, it's so much more fun.
Hmm. Well, like I think it was Oprah that said, the more that you're grateful, the more things you're grateful for, the more the universe will give you to be grateful for. And
Yes.
like you were just saying about the house and how we're always wanting something better than what we have, rather than like really realizing what we have. I had an experience recently with my phone where I don't remember what happened to my phone or where it was, but I had an aha moment where I was like, I would be lost without this thing. Like I think a lot of us would. Like we're so used to having it and we take it for granted. All it's in the palm of our hand what we're able to do. And
Yes.
we can do anything with it. We don't even have
Yes.
to type anymore. We can just ask it a question and like it's crazy, right? And I complain sometimes about how, when I was a kid, we used to ring people's doorbells when we wanted to get together. Like, you know what I mean? Like we weren't texting people. We didn't and and so I'm like, I miss those days, but you know, we really do need to be grateful for the ease that we have in our lives every day because of technology, whether we agree with it or not. It does make things easy. And I don't think that we spend enough time in gratitude for that, or for like the other things, like you said, like you dreamt about this house. And then once you got it, you wanted a bigger house. Like that's what we do as humans. We always want more, 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 more. And it's that gratitude that is what creates abundance in the first place, right? It's that.
And and it's also that we get to have it all. So you were talking about how you were complaining about technology, and you're like, When I was young, this happened," and all of these things, right? We can still do that. We can still create that in our reality. We can cultivate that with our friends and family if we choose to have that reality. There was a movie called Midnight in Paris. I don't know if you've ever seen it, with Owen Wilson. It's just a Hollywood movie, but he dreams about living in the 50s, or I can't remember what time it was, and he's like, things were so simple back then and all these things, and I wish life was like that, and they appreciated art and all this stuff. So he time travels back to that time, and he's in heaven and he's loving it, and then he meets this girl who's saying the same thing he was saying. She said she wishes she was back in the 20s or
Mhm.
whatever it is. And so we romanticize what we think it's going to be like, because we think it's going to be simpler, because we have all this stuff. But here's the thing, we can make it simpler at any moment. We get to have this buffet of everything at our fingertips, and it doesn't need to overwhelm us. It only overwhelms us if we think we have to do everything, and we have to perform, and we have to do this and do all those things. But we can simplify it in our daily life every single day and live as if we were back in those days, because back in those days we'd still have the same problems because we could be complaining about something else. So if we just choose to be like, what, this is my reality. Like, I love living in Europe, and I miss Europe so much. So then, and I love living in Hawaii as well too, but instead of like missing it, I get to be like, what do I love about the lifestyle in Europe? I miss the conversations, like sitting in the parks, and these things. So I get to create that here with my friends and my people. I don't have to wish for something in, that's not here. I get, if I love it, how do I cultivate it here? How do I get to have it all? And how do I get to create that magic? And we also still get to create that bigger house, but we're doing it from a place of gratitude. And
Mhm.
when we're doing it from a place of gratitude, we don't need a timeline on it. We don't need to be like, I need to have this and then I'm worthy and deserving. We know we're worthy and deserving because we are richly abundant, living this incredible life, and we get to create more from it. And because we're richly abundant, we get to receive more as well too, because we're in that. And you also mentioned that when we're in gratitude, when we're grateful for things we have, the universe gives us more to be grateful for. And it's that, but it's also just the simple mindset and the realization that it might have always been there, but we might have just not been seeing it because we were looking for the lack. So when you're looking, when your lens is looking for all the things you don't have and what that person has and that person has and you don't have, and I wish I had this and all of those things. And if you keep thinking you have lack, everywhere you look, you're going to look for lack. You're going to use the examples of lack and you're going to say, see, there it is again. I don't have this because of that. And if you simply just are like, I'm grateful, then you're going to actually just in one day, when I started doing this in that 1 week, my whole life shifted, not because anything changed, but because I just looked at my life in a completely different way. And when I looked at my life with gratitude and I looked at all the things I manifested and I wrote down all the things that I have in my life now that I manifested, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is an incredible life. Then all of a sudden I was grateful. And whether life changed or not, I just felt so happy and so in love. So does that mean the universe is bringing us that? Or does it just mean that we're starting to see that those things have always been here, but we just never saw
Mhm.
it? So it could be
Mhm.
both.
Right. Yeah. Like everything's a miracle if we look at it that way. And
Yes.
yeah, but we
Every
we
single
don't.
one of us are miracles. If you think about how many people are trying to have children and the experiences that I've gone through, my son, he never really asked for children, another sibling until recently. And I was like, well, oh my gosh, what am I going to say? Because that was the main reason I wanted to have another child, because I didn't want him to be alone. But I went through so many shifts. Each miscarriage was the greatest gift for me to see something, to have this opportunity to discover the beauty of only children, which I never understood.
Mm,
And so when he asked me that, I was like, I was like, you know what? I'm going to be honest with him, because I have these incredible conversations with him sometimes, like I have with my clients, and he gets it. And I
how
told
old
him,
is he?
he's 4.
Oh.
So I told him, Mommy did try. I have 5 babies in heaven and I tried very hard and they didn't make it
Oh.
through. And he was like, oh, thank you, Mommy. And he's like, but how come I'm here? And I said, because you're so strong. Because each of us
Mm,
that came through is a miracle, and we are strong and we're amazing just by being here. And he was like, thank you, Mommy. And I said, I don't, and he's like, will another one come? I said, I don't know. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. But when it comes, there's going to be different challenges with that. You know what I mean? Like, you'll have to share, you'll have to do these things. Now we have this beautiful intimacy and this connection that I've never had before. And he understood all of that. And he said, thank you, Mommy. And it was beautiful. It wasn't like
mm,
a thing anymore. But we think we can't talk to our kids this way. But
yeah.
now he knows the miracle that he is. And if all of us
Yes.
knew the miracle that we are, just by being here, just by being alive, if we truly knew it. People say it all the time, but you don't appreciate it till you get sick or till you get a
Yeah.
diagnosis. And then you're like, oh, or someone around you that happens. But if we truly just realize the miracle, that's why when I look at him, it's the greatest gift that I went through all of that, because now I see the world through these completely different eyes that I never did before. And I don't take things for granted anymore.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. You made me cry.
Oh,
But
thank you.
I mean, the older I get, the more I realize, like, my mom died when she was 43 in a car accident,
Oh,
and
wow.
I just turned 56. And so on my birthday, it was a few weeks ago, I got up in the morning and I went down. I live at the beach. I went down, I walked into the ocean and I stood in the ocean and was just saying, thank you for my life. Like, it's a miracle that I've lived this long, because I mean, I've overcome, drug abuse and alcoholism and all of these things where, like, a lot of my friends are dead because we were all addicts, and like I'm still here. And a lot of people complain about getting older, and there's things that are hard about getting older. Our beauty starts to fade and we become kind of invisible, or, people don't in this country anyway, people don't like respect older people the way they do in it's just there's a lot of adjustments to it. But like I've learned, like every time I have a birthday, I'm like, it's a miracle that I'm still here. Like, and it's a gift. And my mother never got to get gray hair or wrinkles.
That is so magical. And also that's the thing that's keeping you young as well too, because we I have one of my clients, and she has the belief that you can be anywhere in the world And it doesn't matter your age, that you're the wise one now. And so you're more revered and you're more respected and you're more honored, no matter where you are living in the world, right? Because have you heard of the Pygmalion effect? Where it's like, it's so basically it's like you people have opinions of you, and then you, I have to get the actual graphic, but basically the point is you're reacting to your environment. They have an opinion of you, and then you react to how they're reacting to you, right? But we could change that, and we can change that belief, and we can say that the older I get, the more people want to talk to me, the more the magnetic I become because of all my knowledge that I get to share with them, and they honor and they respect that. And the more that, and you can change your reality instantly by when you walk into the world and you truly believe that, people will respond to you differently. But if you believe that the older that we get, the more invisible that we get, and the more that they don't treat us that way here, and they treat them that way other places, that's how we show up into the world. Because I
Right.
had this thing where I used to always work with people, and for whatever reason we'd start out here, and then I'd end up doing all the work by the end of it, and I'm like, why do I keep attracting people like this,
Mm-hmm.
but then I realized it was me, because I didn't feel worthy and deserving. And so I'd go into the relationship still trying to prove that I'm worthy enough of this partnership. So I'd keep doing and doing and doing, and I'd say, no problem, I'll do it, because I don't want them to leave. I'm so afraid they're going to leave, right? So I
Mm-hmm.
keep doing that, and then before you know it, the scales are changed. But that was me doing it, because it's so easy when somebody's going through storms and the other person says, no problem, I'll do it. Of course I'll do it. It's totally fine. They're going to say, okay, not because they're a bad person, but because you said, no, it's totally fine. I'll do it. Trust me,
Mm-hmm.
it's going to be okay. So they're just responding to how I'm doing. So once I shifted that and realized that I was worthy and deserving, and I don't need to prove my place in this relationship, and the reality is that I get to co-create with people, I'm just as powerful as everybody else. And I don't need to be interviewed. I need to just see if we're an energetic match or not. All my relationships start changing. So if you take on the belief today that the older we get, the more respected we are, the more we're seen, because people are seeking out our knowledge because of everything. It sounds like you have lived the most incredible life. And so you get to bring those stories to people and share that with the world. And so when you go out into the world, if you take on that belief and you program that in, you're going to be surprised how people are going to come start talking to you more, because it's
Mm-hmm.
just the energy that we project out versus the belief that we have. And when we are in our power and in the belief, it is so magnetic. I was watching this little girl dancing, and she was just in it, and she was loving it. And I couldn't take
Mm-hmm.
my eyes off her, because she was just loving and living it and all of that. And that's all we are attracted to in life. We're
Mm-hmm.
attracted to the people that know themselves, that live in their truth, that live in their alignment, that own their power and bring it to the world. And it's so much more powerful than what it looks like. Your marketing could be amazing, but who you are when you post it, if you don't believe in it and if you don't feel it, it's nothing, right? Or you
Mm-hmm.
could have no marketing at all. I know so many people, and some of my website, my mentors don't even have websites. And so it's not about what it looks like. It's just who they are in their being and their knowing. That's the thing that shifts us. Once we can get away from that and realize that it's what it is on the inside. There's an amazing movie. It's pretty funny, called I Feel Pretty. That's about belief shifts. It's kind of crazy, but it's belief shifts in action, where she takes on this belief that she believes all of a sudden after she hit her head that she just magically became this most gorgeous, incredibly stunning woman, and everybody else sees her as the same. But she goes in life and she sees herself as that. So the way she talks to people is totally different. Even people
Oh,
giving
wow.
her criticism, in her head, she would never believe someone would be criticizing her. So she turns it around to be like, "Oh yeah, it's okay. You don't have to be intimidated by me." And then all of a sudden they're like, "Whoa, who is this woman?" And now they're attracted to her and they want to be with her. And it's
Mm-hmm.
just that belief shift that we have about ourselves. If we believe this, it will show up into our life, because it's what we're projecting out.
Yeah, absolutely. We all need to hit our head.
Yeah,
Mhm. But you're right.
we
Like
can do
I
it.
had a guy that I was trying to help and he kept telling me like I'm running all these solo ads, I'm doing all this marketing and nothing's working. Like, but he would say like what he's doing in the same sentence he would say like um nobody wants to hear what I have to say. Like I'm doing all this and I'm like, well, you got to work on your mindset. He goes, I don't have time to work on my mindset. I need to just keep running ads because I need to make money, and I'm like, until you shift your mindset, your ads are not going to convert
Yes,
because
and
it's
it's
the energy that you're putting through the keyboard when you're making your ads. It's going out
yes.
into the universe.
And that's what changed my 365-day reel challenge. It was like, it was different how I post now. And again, also it's not all about the likes and everything, because you put it out there and it's just that one person that sees it. It doesn't have to be everybody. It doesn't have to be. So sometimes we change our content because it didn't get likes or it didn't get, enough hits. But that's when you go dive deep and you discover, where am I suppressing myself? Where is this voice trying to come through, but I'm trying to please everybody. And so I'm watering it down, and you go in and you're like, okay, and you cultivate the inner power to bring your voice out into the world, knowing that you're building your audience. They don't have to already be there. You're building it with every single post. You're holding the vision for them to come to who you truly are, to your innovation, to your evolution that's going to help them, versus just being more of the same that's out there and trying to please the people that are already there. We're trying to find our people, and we're trying to co-create with our people.
Yeah, I agree. And I totally agree. Like I don't believe in trying to maneuver the algorithm, like create stuff to make the algorithm work for us. Like I feel like a lot of the people whose lives are being changed by our content don't like or comment on our stuff. Like I've had
Yes.
people tell me later, like I'll meet someone at an event and they're like,
Yes.
"Oh my God, you changed my life." Like I've never didn't even know they were there. Like they.
And it could
So
be a year later that you bump into them and they're like, oh my God, that completely changed this. And you don't
mhm,
know. You
you
think
don't
you're
know.
talking to nobody,
You don't have
but you don't
metrics
know
on it,
your
but
ripple. Yes. So we don't need to measure it. It's when we are measuring for the results that we take ourselves out of the zone, and when we're building something, we're also drawing those people to us as well too. So it's not that outward outward likes. The more
yeah.
true we are to ourselves, the more we are meant, the more we magnetize our people to us.
Mhm. Yeah, and those, they're called vanity metrics because that's what they are. They don't mean anything. Like just because you get a lot of likes doesn't mean you're making any money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It doesn't mean that you're having an impact. Like, you know what I mean? And I feel like, like we just said, like sometimes like people think that you have to get like millions of views on your videos in order to make money. None of my videos get millions of views, but for what I do, I
Hmm.
don't need millions of views. I'm not trying to get sponsorships. I'm not trying to get paid by YouTube for views,
Hmm.
right? I just need the right people to, you know, want what I'm offering or whatever. And
Yeah,
it doesn't take a lot of views. And when you're speaking from your heart and speaking to the people that you want to help, the right people will be attracted to your content. You'll be able to make a difference for them. You don't need millions of them. I feel like a lot
exactly.
of
I
those,
100% agree.
yeah, like a
Because
lot
the
of
thing
those
is, you can create things for people to like it, and then you'll just be liked, which is amazing.
right.
But do you want to be liked, or do you want to be your truth? And I think a lot of mental health stuff is that we're just always trying to be liked. And so we're living for what people are going to like, instead of for being like who we truly are, and having the inner power to be brave enough to put that into the world. So it's kind of like if you're going on a date with someone, and or a job interview, and you're trying to like be that person that they want you to be, and you're like promising all these things, and then you get you're with that person, but then you always have to be that person. And so
Right.
it's exhausting to have to be that person so that they keep liking you, and then you wonder why that relationship's not deep, why you can't
Yep.
have deep, intimate connections is because you're still trying to be that, you're so afraid, versus I am powerful and I want to co-create with someone, whether it's a partner, whether it's a business, whether whatever it is. So I get to decide, I get to be my most authentic self. I get to put it out there, and then I just get to discover who's that person that's going to be with me that we get to co-create, not who's that person that's going to complete me, right? Or that's going to give me the confidence or whatever it might be, because we're so much bigger than anybody or anything. Like when I play with quantum physics, when I manifested my last career, we don't pull from what exists. We bring in new things, we innovate, like all of the things. When we can keep fighting over the same people, the same jobs, the same everything, or we can innovate and create something brand new and create our own market and realize that there's an abundance of everybody. So everybody gets to win. It's not domination, it's not competition, it's co-collaboration so that we can bring more to the world. And I never would have believed it unless it happened to me in my career. And my husband and I created a whole nother industry that didn't exist when I was playing with quantum physics to take my career to the next level. So we have to in and the things that my soul told me to take leaps on didn't make sense to other people. But I listened to it because I had a knowing, and it looked crazy, but I knew in my gut that this was what I was meant to do. So I did it, and then that showed up into my life. All of us have that knowing, but our conditioned mind a lot of times overrides that knowing. So once you know and you can override that and you can stay true to it, you can remove the wobble and you can get there a lot faster.
I love this. And I know we're coming to the end of
Yeah.
our time, but I would love to just, if you could just elaborate a little bit on what, when you say I was playing with quantum physics. What?
Well, my energy modality, Millennium Method, is based on quantum physics. We use fractals. I also study Joe Dispenza, and I study, Dr. Bruce Lipton.
Mhm.
And I love just realizing that nothing is real until we observe it
Mhm.
and what we observe it for. And so even like, anything in this room, to me, I create everything to be an illusion, because then I know it's easy to shift instantly. Like
Mhm.
this chair, I don't even know what that looks like to you and your perception of your mind. I just know that you told me this was a chair, so I labeled what I'm seeing a chair. Or even the color purple could look completely different to you in your reality than purple looks like to me. So I'm creating my reality based on what people are telling me, and it can change any single second. At one point, the world was flat, and now the world is round. You know what I mean? So when we realize that nothing is fixed, not even time, like I play with time and I'm like, there's more than enough time. Everything is in divine order. And I don't look at the clock, and then I end up showing up just in the right amount of time. But if I look at the clock and I'm like, oh no, it's impossible. That's not going to work out, and I keep everything in the reality, this fixed reality, there's not much movement there. But if I
Mhm.
compound every time I got extra time, or I showed up and then I'm like, oh, that means I'm magic and miracles, or I program myself to be the lucky one. So I show up and I just am in the reality that I'm the lucky one. After I programmed myself to be the lucky one, when I was in the spa one day in the sauna, just because I love doing this, it's not like I need to do it. I just love to play with it. I get home and my friend messages me and says, you just won a brand immersion with one of your mentors. And I'm like, what? I didn't even know there was a draw. And then like we're going to the beach and we're gonna go eat at a restaurant on a holiday, and my husband's like, oh, there's no way we're gonna get a table because it's a holiday. And I said, that's not my reality. In my reality, we're the lucky ones. Of course we're gonna get a table. And if we don't, I'll figure it out. But of course we're gonna get a table because we're the lucky ones. And then we get there and we get seated right away. Does it happen all the time? No, but I don't, those times it doesn't happen, I don't compound those. I compound every single time it does happen. I play
Mm.
with that. None of this is real, and I can shift it. Whenever, like I bought a camera lens from Best Buy, and it was a $2,800 lens. And they said they didn't have it in stock and they were going to ship it to me. And I was waiting, it never arrived. And then this one day where everything was so-called going wrong, where everything was crunchy, I called called them and I said, my lens never arrived. And they said, oh, we have no recollection of you or records of you getting a lens delivered to you. It says you picked it up at the store. And I was like, what? And I said, well, what am I going to do about it? Because I never got it. And they said, well, you're just going to have to go down to the store and talk to the person that sold it to you, because on our records, it shows nothing about a lens being shipped to you. It says you picked up the product from the store. And so I could have freaked out because everything that day was going wrong, or I could realize that none of this is real. Everything's happening for me, not to me. And somehow magically, I'm going to get there. The person's going to be there and everything's going to work out. And I get there, there's this long line, but I'm like, nope, it's going to work out somehow. And then all of a sudden, the people started dispersing. I get there, they're like, yeah, no problem. I don't know what happened. That's a glitch. And they redid it instantly. But if I would have freaked out and if I wouldn't have believed if the reality that I was creating, I know it would have blown up in my face because in the past it had. But I
Yeah.
shifted my reality. And that's all we need to do. We just need to play, realizing none of this is fixed. The more that we can poke holes in the fixed, this happened in the past, so it's going to happen again. The more that we can play with the illusion of everything and create our own realities, the more that you can create an infinite potentiality. And then it becomes this fun game that we just
Yeah.
play every week.
I love it so much. So can you like tell us what different ways do you work with people to help people with this stuff? And like what kind of things do you help people with exactly? And what do you offer? What are your offerings?
Thank you. Well, I have my programs. I have a group program, I have a mastermind, and I have a one-on-one mentorship. So I work with anybody that wants to take it to the next level, that wants to do it the easy way, that wants to stop forcing, pushing, pleasing, proving, because I help you to discover, to go into that journey of self-discovery, to reprogram, to find those limiting beliefs that are so stuck, that we remove so that I can open it up to create this new reality. And so my programs run all year round, so people can hop in when they want, when they need it, when they want to plug in, and then they can hop out when they want. Because I want to support people. I used to do, like you saw, I used to do a lot of retreats or weekend programs. And I would get frustrated because we'd create these massive breakthroughs and then they'd go back to their real world, because when you're in a retreat place, you're in a controlled environment, right? It's kind of like a monk going to a monastery, so you get to do all these things. And then the monk comes out of the monastery into the real world, tries to hold on to it for as long as they can, and then sometimes the environment starts to overtake. The old beliefs start to come in because they're around those people, and they can't keep the routine and all of these things. So that and to me, I'm all about quantum leaping breakthroughs over and over and over again. So that's why I created these programs, so it's all year round, so you're in your real life. So we're dealing with stuff that's real life stuff. It's not like you're going away to do this. Like, you get to shift it real time, and each week you get to compound it more and more and more, setting you free, creating things you're like creating more magic. I call them magic opportunities. But when you're magnetic, you start and you're in the zone, you start receiving out of the blue emails, or, like, I ran into this person and this opportunity came out of the blue. And so all we're doing is helping you to get in that zone and stay in that zone every single week and cultivate that inner power to start pulling more things in. So it starts to become easy instead of stressful and frustrating.
I love that. So you said you do one-on-one, you do it in a group setting, and then you have what's the difference between the mastermind and the group?
The mastermind is smaller, so the groups are bigger. And also,
Oh,
in the groups, I do have one, they have a bi-weekly mastermind. So every other week, there's a mastermind every Thursday that they can join. But then the mastermind, the Quantum Leap Mastermind, includes that whole group coaching program, so they can plug in whenever they want. Plus, they get their separate mastermind on their own, which is a smaller group, and they get Voxer support Monday through Friday. So if something's going on, you'll get real-time coaching where you can just put your question in right away, and we shift it so that that belief doesn't sit, so that we don't let that belief so that we can
That's very
compound the good belief and just keep overriding it till that just becomes your new reality. So that's for people that are like, I'm all in, I'm tired of doing this old way. Let's just go in, let's just clear this out. Like instead of cleaning the house bit by bit, it's like, let's just go and do a spring cleaning and then let's just sustain that. And each time we get to compound it because once we clear it out, there's even more we get to create and more and more. And it's just like, it just gets to keep getting better and better and better and more magical. And it's just so much fun. The people in the programs are so inspiring. And when you're in a community where people believe in infinite potentiality, it just amplifies your like just amplifies your energy. It amplifies manifestations because everybody believing anything is possible is this beautiful gift. Because in real life, you would tell someone something and they're like, oh no, that could never happen. You need to do this. And, it's just the complete opposite.
Yeah, I love it. And then if you would also, you mentioned your soul evolution process that people can get for free on your Instagram.
Yes.
You want to say a little bit about that and how they can get it?
Yeah, just DM me on Instagram. Instagram, I put a lot of downloads into Instagram through my quantum energy sessions. Also, little tips and everything. I love Instagram because it gets to shift with the collective. It gets to shift with what we're going through versus a stagnant website. So it gets to shift with whatever you need. I also do go live on Instagram for Q&As. So if people want to ask questions and receive downloads from my Millennium Method, then they just put it in the chat and then I do downloads for them and read it to them and download into their energy to help them to shift it out. So I do hop in every once in a while live, but if you just DM me, I'll send you the soul evolution process. And if you do that every day, it explains how to do it on the actual video as well too. And you do that every day, it's a game changer for me. Like that's how I set my life because I have plans, I have projections, I have all those things, but then I tune into myself and I say, what's going to bring the most value to my vision? And my vision is not just my business. My vision is wealth, which is money, career, healthy relationships, adventures, self-care. Like to me, wealth is all of that in a balance. So when I ask my soul, it's like, what's going to bring the most value to my vision? Because I get to have it all and doesn't have to just be this one thing. And I get to build with all of them instead of me just being the workaholic on the phone all the time. And then my relationship suffering or my son not seeing me or, whatever those things are. You can ask it for specific things. It doesn't always have to be your big vision. It can be like, okay, well, there's this deal. What's in the highest vision for this deal? And you tune into your soul because a lot of times it's going to tell you to do something, then your conditioned mind will tell you because your conditioned mind is trying to protect you. But when your conditioned mind knows that you're resilient and you cultivate the inner power, it relax a little bit and it'll let you take those leaps because it knows that you can transmute it.
Beautiful. So if
Yeah.
someone is going to DM you on Instagram for your soul evolution, is there a certain message that they should send? Did they just say soul evolution?
Soul
Is it
evolution. Yeah,
okay?
if they just say soul evolution, they will get the process. And if they're not sure if a program is a fit for them, like which program they want to hop into, they can also DM me and book a discovery call just to discover and say, okay, well, this is what I'm working on. What do you think would be the best fit? And how would this program benefit? And you will be able to figure out where they'd be best fit in
Okay.
which program.
Perfect. What is your, and this will all be in the show notes too, but just I'll have you say it as well. What is your Instagram handle?
It's Jocelyn Sandstrom.
Okay, perfect.
Thank
Well,
you so
are there
much.
any, before we close, I just always like to ask, are there any last closing thoughts you want to leave people with? Anything that we didn't cover or anything you just want to say?
Yeah, I would just say contemplate right now what patterns are showing up in your life. What are you unconsciously constantly trying to prove to yourself? Like um if you keep telling yourself stories about your business, like what are you trying to prove and because that belief is what's keeping the block and that stuckness in your business. So just contemplate and be like, well, what story am I telling people all the time?
Mm-hmm.
And listen to your what comes out of your mouth and what comes out or journal on it and see what's coming up and you'll find out what that is. Once you find out what that limiting belief is, you can simply on your own, it's not going to be as much as the reprogramming process, but you could reframe it to the complete opposite of what you want it to actually be, and then start grounding and claiming that and saying, that's not my reality anymore. This is my reality. And now I'm just going to ground into this reality. And every single day, I'm going to look for examples of this. Even if right now there's not that many examples, then I'm going to look for examples of other people that have done it, that other people have broken that 4-minute mile. You know, no one could break the 4-minute mile until that first person did, then everyone could. So you just look for your 4-minute mile everywhere in life, showing you that this belief is possible so that you override the other one. It will take longer, but you can absolutely do it.
I love it. Thank you so much,
Thanks.
Jocelyn. This has been such an
Thank you so much.
amazing interview. I know everybody's gonna love it, and we will see you guys again soon in the next episode.
Yay.
Bye for now.
Bye. Thank you.